As you know, we have association algorithms which have the potential to generate the number of patterns, isn't it? Large number of patterns. Usually we cannot say just a pattern, large number of patterns. Okay. So for example, even though the data set, for example, if any, as we have discussed earlier, if we have only 6 items, we will have hundreds of association rules at certain support and confidence thresholds, isn't it? If the threshold support value is less, whatever we consider, and if the confidence is also less, then with 6 items we can produce hundreds of association rules. Only if confidence is more or support is more, the rules we may end up with the less association rules. Otherwise, if they are less, we'll end up producing hundreds of association rules. So as the size and dimensionality of real commercial databases will usually be large, we could easily end up with thousands or even millions of patterns, many of which might not be interesting. So as you know, data mining means it is applicable to real commercial databases, which will be very large. Hence, it will obviously end up with thousands or even millions of patterns. And in those patterns, many of them will not be interesting. So shifting through the patterns to identify the most interesting ones is not a okay. So to find out, um, going through all those and finding out which is trivial or which is not, it depends on the person's interest. One may think that it is a trash, while others may think it as a pleasure. Therefore, it's very much important to establish a well-accepted criteria for evaluating the quality of these association patterns. Simply, we can go through that and find out what is required and what is not required. But it's better to have a well-established or well-accepted criteria for evaluating the quality of these association patterns. So how to evaluate these association patterns is the topic of today's topic. So we have objective interestingness measure and subjective interestingness measure. So the first set of criteria will be established through statistical arguments, and this objective measure will use statistics, which is derived from data, to determine whether a pattern is interesting. So if we consider objective interestingness measure, it will use statistics to determine whether a particular pattern is interesting. And here this includes support, confidence, and correlation. So we have 2 types: objective interesting measure and subjective interesting measure. So if we consider objective interesting measure, it uses statistics, which is derived from data, and using that we will determine whether a pattern is interesting or not. So example is support, confidence, and correlation. And the second set of criteria can be established through subjective arguments. So the second one is subjective arguments. So a pattern is considered subjectively uninteresting unless it reveals unexpected information about the data or provide useful knowledge that can lead to profitable actions. For example, if we take this rule, the person who buys butter also tends to buy bread. This will not be interesting pattern, even though if it has high support and confidence value. The reason is that the relationship between the two is obvious. That is, the person who buys butter is obviously buys bread. So this is not of that interest. So this is subjective interest, subjective argument. So here, even though it has high support and confidence values, as the relationship is very obvious, we can say that this particular rule is not that interesting. On the other hand, the rule, the person who buys diapers tends to buy beer, is an interesting because the relationship is quite unexpected and may suggest a new cross-selling opportunity for retailers, isn't it? So this is interesting. Whereas diapers, the person who buys diapers will also buy beer will be an interesting pattern, even though it is unexpected, because it suggests a new cross-selling opportunity for retailers. So incorporating these, okay, so incorporating these subjective knowledge into pattern evaluation, it's a difficult task because it requires an prior information from the domain experts. So it requires information from domain experts. So the following are some of the approaches for incorporating the subject knowledge into the pattern discovery task. So as I said, it requires some domain experts. So some of the approaches for incorporating these type of subjective knowledge into the pattern discovery are visualization. This approach requires a user-friendly environment to keep the human user in the loop. That is, unless and otherwise, you will visualize the pattern or visualize the buying pattern or the purchase pattern of human user. You just cannot, you will not be in a position to find out what they want, or you will not be able to find out the surprising criteria. So that is, the surprising criteria will not come up unless otherwise you will observe them, or we will observe their buying pattern or purchase pattern of humans. So that is visualization. So here it allows the domain experts to interact with the data mining system by interpreting and verifying the discovered patterns. So what they do is, at the end of the day, they may, these people, domain experts, may just interact with this data mining system by interpreting and verifying these discovered patterns. Next, template-based approach. So this approach allows the users to constrain the type of patterns extracted by the mining algorithm. So here, instead of reporting all the extracted rules, only rules that satisfy a user-specified template are returned to the users. So this is one more approach to find the subjective approach. We are discussing the approaches for incorporating subjective knowledge. So template-based approach is one. Visualization is one. Visualization will observe the user buying pattern or purchase pattern. Template, instead of reporting all the extracted rules, only rules that satisfy a user specified template are returned to the users. And we have subjective interesting measure, which is based on domain information. So here on information such as concept hierarchy or profit margins of items. So this is subjective interesting measure. So this measure can then be used to filter the patterns that are obvious and non-actionable. So the readers who are interested in these interesting measures may refer to the, we have at the end of this your textbook, there is a bibliography, you can refer to that for these subjective interesting measure. Yes, when we come to objective measures of interestingness, it's a data-driven approach for evaluating the quality of association patterns. Subjective is domain dependent, whereas objective is domain independent, which means that you need not have, it's not necessary that you should have in-depth knowledge of the particular domain independent, isn't it? And also the users, and also that requires minimal input from the users other than to specify a threshold for filtering low quality patterns. Here you will be interested in, the requirement is that it need not be domain, it is domain independent, and it requires minimal input from the users. And this objective measure is usually computed based on the frequency counts tabulated in a contingency table. So for these objective measures, we will use a contingency table. So this is a contingency table in the sense it is a common table which is used in statistics. Okay. Contingency is one of the table which is used in statistics. So this is an example for that contingency table. So if you have, it's a two-way contingency table for variables A and B. If you will see here, so this indicates, A indicates the presence of an object in the transaction. A bar, absence. That is, item A is not present in the transaction. A bar means item A is not present in the transaction. Item A, simply A means it is present in the transaction. So what does this mean? Both A, B. What is this entry? The number of transactions in which both A and B are present will be recorded here. The number of transactions in which A is present and B is not present will be recorded here. And the number of transactions in which A is not present and B is present, B is alone, say 0, 1. A is not present and B is present. This records the number of transactions, frequency count, or the count of in how many transactions B is alone present without A. And here both are not present. So we have this contingency table using which we can just find out the support and confidence. So 1 plus will represents the support count for A. See here, we have 1, 1 here. So F1 plus will give you the support count for A, and for B, it is, you can fetch it from this F plus 1, isn't it? See here, B. So the support count for B can be obtained in this cell, whereas the support count for A can be obtained in this cell. Okay, so each entry Fij in this 2x2 table will denote a frequency count. So F11 is the number of times A and B appear together in the same transaction. F01, number of transactions that contain B and not A. And this row sum F1 plus will represent the support count for A, while this column F plus 1 represents the support count for B. Okay. And what about the limitations? Okay, these are the sum of the objective measures of interesting along with their limitations. So we will be discussing under objective measures of interesting. You have one question on this in your assignment, isn't it? Let me check how many are there.